right. How are you today, Sandy? Welcome to the Real Ideal Podcast. I'm Amy Tokus, coming from Omaha.
And I am Sandy Lane. It's saying to Amy, you know what? It's all good. No complaints. Little dusting needs to be done. Dog needs to be walked. But yeah, I'm excited to talk. I love podcast day.
I do too. It's so I don't know. It's always fun. And I will tell you our topic today, she's so vain. I've been thinking about this for the last month and I'm super excited. And today, if you're watching the video, you can see I'm turned around. It's because my house is empty. And so I'm facing the other direction. I didn't have to close the curtains and all that stuff to have privacy. So today I'm sitting the other way and
It looks good. I told Amy I love the water feature in the back is very soothing as I talk to her,
I know usually I have birds in there and squirrels, so you might see that and I enjoy watching them. But today I'm facing the other direction, which is kind of nice and refreshing. So she's so vain. This topic, Sandy, you brought this forward and I love, do you want to share the story of why, what happened?
Yeah. And what's interesting is actually you kind of play a part in that story because of it kind of wraps all the way around. But the story is a year ago. It started with two things happened, and then I made up my mind on something. The two things that happened were we talked about the happiness factor last week. When I was in Boise and I was out, we had moved there in January. It was April and I was riding my bike. It was gorgeous. I was having a great day. And I thought in my head, oh, I can't wait to tell Garrett my happiness factor is a 9.5 right now. This is a great place. I'm on the green belt. And I literally pulled my bike over to the side of the green belt, mountains, green water around me. And I turned my phone and I took a video pronouncing, because when I ride my bike, I think, and I told about, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and a series about the happiness factor. I want to talk to people. I really want to share my learnings. This is going to be kind of my passion project. I've been thinking about this. Okay. So I went home later. I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I captured that. And I watched the video and all I could think about was the fact that my tooth was crooked. I stared at my tooth. It looked like a piece of popcorn coming out of my mouth. And all I could think about was my crooked tooth. And then I kind of looked at my arms and said, boy, your arms are fat. And so I was obsessing over how I looked in this video. And even though I still wanted to do the happiness project, this great declaration video and the beauty behind me, all I could focus on is how I looked. And then fast forward, and Amy's national organization, the National Organization of Professional Organizers. Did I get that exactly right, Amy? NAPO?
It's for Productivity and Organizing Professionals. So yeah, you were very close.
Very close. NAPO. I was brought in to speak to their leadership group at their annual conference. Wonderful conference. Absolutely loved doing it. And Amy, they had professional photographers there. Amy took some video. I had pictures. And when I went back to look at some of those, all I could think about was, oh my gosh, I am fat. And oh my gosh, my wrinkles. And the first thing I did, it wasn't about the content or it was about how I looked. So the finale to the story of where it came from when She's So Vain is I had decided, I have always done professional speaking, but I kind of picked up things when people asked me to. And I really wanted to do more public speaking on some very specific topics like the happiness factor, like life purpose, remember my name. I had different keynotes, but I decided that until I lost weight and straightened my tooth, I didn't think I'd be taken seriously. And I couldn't take myself seriously. And I literally made up my mind that until I lost some weight and I went in and got the Direct Smile, which is similar to Invisalign, but it's all 3D technology. And I worked for a year at losing weight and straightening my teeth because to me, until I was going to do that, I didn't think I didn't want to be on the public stage unless I could bring forward my best self. So my comment to Amy with that story, when I shared that with her, because of course now I'm excited because I did lose 15 pounds and my teeth are perfectly straight, was that right or wrong? Is that self-care? Is that vanity? Does it really matter? And I asked my husband this that same night, that I had brought this up to Amy, and I said, if I was a man, would people expect me to be thinner? Would they analyze me as much or assess me on my looks? And he said, no, they wouldn't. And that's where the story and because I've been living it for a year, and it was good because back to developing content, we moved a few times. But the reality was I would be lying if I didn't say that I wasn't going to do public speaking or workshops seriously until I lost weight and straightened my teeth. So am I so vain? Am I wrong? That's what's going through my head.
Right. And when you shared this story with me the first time, I was like, gosh, I don't remember that at all, Sandy. So I remember you being up on the stage, and I remember me thinking, wow, look at her go. She is awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't judging you the way you judged yourself when you saw the video. So I think we are harder on ourselves than other people are. But I'm going to tell you, I have that same thread through me because right now I'm trying to lose a few pounds. Same reason I'm, going into this role as president of NAPO, and I know there's going to be media that I'm working with, and I'm doing more speaking and all that stuff. And I'm like, I want to look good. But my coach was asking me when I'm trying to lose weight, she's like, why are you trying? What's your reason? What's your motivation? And I was like, yeah, I don't know. Because I feel healthy.
Right.
There wasn't, my blood work's okay. And I feel healthy. So there's no health reason, right now. So I was like, after thinking about it, I'm like, it's vanity. I want to look good in pictures. I don't want to look at my photo and say, oh my gosh. And what happened was I caught my reflection when I was moving my daughter in Chicago. I caught my reflection and I looked horrible because it was moving day.
Right.
And I was like wearing grubby clothes. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do something more. And that's when it hit me. I was like, it's vanity. That's why I need to lose weight. I want to look better. So here we are.
And part of it too, Amy, and here's all these thoughts going through my head because I'm like you, thinking about this. There is also something for me about as I get older, I know that some things I can't change. Like now I'm having troubles with my knee again, right? And so, gosh, am I going to be out of commission for running? And one thing that goes through my mind is, why don't I take ownership of the things I can control, like losing weight? And even my tooth, technology's gotten a ton better. I went and had I've had braces twice, just so you know, when I was a kid, and purportedly it was a small town. They tell me now that that there's matching, they pull teeth. He didn't pull the matching teeth, and that's why my teeth keep shifting. And yeah, so I've had to have braces. I had to get them again on the bottom, and then they shifted again when I got older. 8 years ago, I went in for an evaluation, and it basically was going to cost me $35,000, and I have to take 6 weeks off of work because they were going to remove a tooth, do some surgery, get me back to normal. And I'm like, oh, forget that. Technology's changed where literally I spent $1,900. I never saw an orthodontist in person, and they mailed me through 3D technology braces, and my teeth were straightened in 10 months. So technology has changed, but I can change that. There's a part of me that feels like as I age and I can't make the wrinkles go away, I can't change that I slathered in baby oil at the Remsen pool, not worried about I can't reverse those things. I can't make my bones not hurt as much when I run, but I feel like I can control my weight. It's harder. It's absolutely harder, but I can. And hey, if the technology's there and I have the means, I can control my teeth. So part of me too, it's how I look. So it's vanity, but I also kind of feel like it's maybe things, the older I get, the more I realize that I can't control everything. So now I have control issues too. I have vanity and control issues.
But part of it is confidence. And so when we're speaking, when we're doing that sort of stuff, we want to feel good. When we're out with friends, we want to have confidence. And one of the ways as women, we're confident. Our clothes can bring us confidence. Like when we wear a certain outfit and we're like, I look good in this outfit. Our hair brings us confidence. Our, how physical, like if we went for a run that morning and we're like, oh, that was a great run, that will give us confidence. And so some of it, I don't think it's all vanity, but those are the things that can give us confidence to be out in the world and feel our best. And so we have to give ourselves a little bit of a break because and plus the social expectations is also out there. Like you were talking about, do men get the same
Right.
critique? No, I don't think they do at all. I think men get a pass for almost everything except for maybe if they smell, then they don't get a pass for that. But they can have crooked teeth, they can have bad hair,
They
they
can
can.
have their stomach hanging out and nobody says, oh gee, or in the back of I've heard it. Women can sabotage each other too.
Right.
Female speaker up on stage, well, who is she to tell me what to do and she can't even control her own weight? Or how is she to be looked up at? Oh my gosh, I can name, and I'm not going to do it, men
Right.
that everybody looks up to and it's the best person. And in fact, the men are like, I'm trying to lose weight. It's okay. You're fine. And it's a different standard. Their belly is hanging out and what people say, gosh, I'm just worried about their health. I don't want them to have a heart attack. That's really bad to carry weight there. Well, are they worried about the woman speaker's health that's overweight and standing on the stage? They're worried about her discipline.
Right. And they're judging her expertise by her looks. Like if she doesn't have it all together, then she's probably not an expert in this area because she just doesn't have it all together. Whereas a man, his brain is naturally I don't want to say naturally. I just want to like glorified,
Right.
like his expertise would be honored despite everything else.
Right.
Yeah, it's an interesting, but I think there's a difference between wanting to look your best and wanting to feel your best and vanity. Like, and here's an example that I thought of. When my oldest was moving into college, I remember there was um, a vanity, but had a huge mirror above it. And there was one of her neighbors, new neighbors, was over visiting. This was her freshman year. So she knew nobody. Nobody knew anybody. And they're all kind of trying to get to know each other. And the mirror was behind me. And this girl was talking to me, but she was watching herself the whole time. And I remember being like, what? Like I was looking at her and I was like, what is she looking at? And I kept talking to her. And then finally I turned around and I was like, oh my gosh, there's a mirror behind me. And she was watching herself. I think that's more of the vanity. And it's so hard what I've discovered because like Zoom has raised my awareness of this, of how much I watch myself talk because I'm not used to seeing myself talk.
Right.
And so like when we're doing this, I'm always checking but when we're in a regular meeting, I have no idea what I look like when I talk. So this,
Like me staring at my tooth. Like,
right,
oh my
exactly.
gosh, what is
Yeah,
up with that tooth that's moving
right,
all over that's all crooked and gnarly? Because
right,
who watches themselves speak? Who watches
right,
themselves
exactly,
talk?
right. And
Zoom, you're looking right at it.
I know exactly. Well, yesterday, so somebody had told me, turning off the self view because you can shut off just yourself and see everybody else. And it creates this, you don't get as exhausted because when you're checking yourself out throughout meetings and stuff like that, it's exhausting. It's just
And what's
mentally.
so funny is nobody else is looking at you because they're all looking at themselves
I
too.
know, exactly. Exactly. So I did it yesterday and I'm like, oh my gosh, that is a game changer, shutting off self view. And because now I'm just looking at the person speaking or, everybody else, but I'm not paying attention to myself, which I also have to be aware that I do have the camera on me all the
Right.
time. So even though I'm not watching myself. So anyway, that's just an interesting, but the mirror thing is a whole different level of vanity when you have to be checking, and it's funny because I've noticed it a few times with people. Not very often do I have mirrors behind me, and but when I do, I notice that the people are looking at themselves in the mirror.
Right. Right.
I-
You know,
yeah, go ahead.
you bring up the Zoom thing. Remember back to, I keep thinking, I'm saying this has to do with age. And part of it is, when I talk about technology, is the fact that we are looking constantly at pictures of our, even if we're not taking them, if you're with a group of people, can you take my picture? Let's take our picture. People are posting things. You are surrounded by pictures. When we were young, we took pictures with the camera, we got them developed, and if we didn't like them, we would throw those things away and nobody would ever see them again. It was a whole different, remember running to the Photoshop to get the pictures and get the
Yeah,
second set, and then you'd have 20 of the same one, and maybe there was one good one, but I have a distinct memory of so I don't know, see, this could be a podcast in of itself, and I don't know what to call it, but I have a chip in my windshield, and they did a little fix on it at the dealership, and their comment was, well, pretty soon your mind's eye is so used to looking at it, it forgets it's there. And I will forget about it, and about once a month I remember there's this little tiny chip right in front of my face, but I never notice it because it's a brain game. I
yeah,
think the same thing happens with ourselves when we look in the mirror. Okay. So when you look in the mirror, I think, oh, I look great. I don't see any, but then all of a sudden we see pictures or the tooth, and you look completely different when you see those real things. And
right.
I remember when I was in college, I thought I looked great. I remember looking in the mirror and I put all this makeup on. I had the hair done. It was the 80s. I had the clothes, and somebody took a picture of me out by my dorm room door on display, and we had them developed. And the person and it was a very good picture that was taken, but I had gained weight. My makeup looked white, and how I looked in that picture was completely different than how I saw myself in the mirror. And it was kind of that mind's eye game going
Right.
on. And
Yeah,
now we have this in front of us all the time. It's like somebody's putting that that little chip in my windshield in front of my face every day and reminding me of it, because everywhere I go, we've
yeah.
got Zoom, we've got social media, we've got everything we do is on video, and video is a whole different element too, because rather than all smiling and taking it from up here, they're catching all angles. You see how big your butt really does look when you're walking. You see how your turkey neck comes down when you look to the side. And I feel like it's a constant reminder of my imperfections.
Yes, it's a whole new level of self-acceptance.
Right.
I mean, it's not, yes, it's a whole new level of seeing your whole self and self-accepting. But speaking of that, like Zoom, I wear way more makeup when I do this podcast
Mm-hmm.
because we're Zooming and videotaping. Like contouring, I don't normally contour, but I do for Zooms because I have a double chin. And if I contour down here, it makes me look like I have a chin. I put on lipstick, so my teeth look a little whiter. It's just, and it's because I can see myself and I don't want to look like, because yesterday I had a Zoom call, funny thing, and I thought it was a regular phone call. And so I had gone out for my walk and I came in like 5 minutes before. I was a little sweaty. I had my hair up in a ponytail, no makeup. I'd been out walking, and I sat down at my desk. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's a Zoom call. And I'm just like, all right, well, here I am. You guys are getting me as grubby as I am. And it was fine.
And do
And
you
I
think,
don't think,
Amy,
yeah,
vanity versus self-care? Garrett, so I'm going to give my husband kudos here. He has never, even when I gained weight, never did he say, boy, are you looking chubby? He
right,
always made me feel like I was the most beautiful person in the world, right? And even
right,
as I age, my husband never would say, oh, look at those younger, he's really just very,
right,
very, I certainly didn't do it because I felt any pressure from him. Now,
Right.
he's very honest. If I were to say, gee, I think I'm going to try to lose weight, his answer would be, oh, how much do you think you want to lose? Whereas women tend to tell each other, you look fine, you don't need to do anything, which is
Right.
another topic. But his comment to me was, when I was working on these things, is, I'm so proud of you to really care enough to want to do these things, to make yourself, to work on your, to make yourself better so you can feel better. Good for you. And I thought, if it's vanity, wouldn't it come across like the girl looking in the mirror? Like, why are you doing this? Is it for somebody else? Is it because we're so comfortable in our relationship? But he was happy for me. And in his mind, he's like, I really love it that you care enough that you want to make yourself better, whether.
Right. Good
So
for him. Good for you. Good for both of you.
So
I mean,
is making yourself better vanity, or because we make ourselves better by learning, by having credentials, we make ourselves better in a lot of different ways. Is it that bad to want to have straight teeth, look good on Zoom, look good in your clothes, and uh, be able to be on the stage and have people say good things about you,
right.
better things about you, be taken serious? Is that bad?
Well, and I think one of the things is you don't want that stuff as a female, you don't want any of that stuff to distract from what you're trying to message.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of my, like, whenever I'm picking out my outfits, whenever I'm picking out um, how I'm going to fix my hair that day, it's like, I just want it to feel natural and look normal so that people hear what I'm saying and don't see me as an anomaly of,
Right.
wow, look how grubby she is. Look, she can't take care of herself. Look, like, you just kind of want to fit in so people hear what you're saying instead of notice what you're wearing and things like that. So anyway, I had speaking of clothes,
Mm-hmm.
we talk about, like, you think about Steve Jobs and
Mm-hmm.
Mark Zuckerberg and how they wear those same outfits as men and they can get
Turtleneck,
away with it.
hoodie. Yep.
Exactly. And they're just um they can do that and it's totally acceptable. Do you think a woman could get away with that?
I don't think so. I don't. I think if she was on, here's a bad answer. I think if she was young and drop dead gorgeous, she could, then you're trendy and you're doing something cool. Um, I, I'm trying to think of an example. Frankly, some people that try to copy that, then they get told they're copycats. They're trying to be like. Are the men ever told they're trying to be like someone else? I've always said, okay, so when I was at my public accounting firm, we did a big open house. I was probably 25 years old. And they said, go, it was when business casual just started being a thing. It was in the mid 90s. And we said, rather than dressing up, why don't we just all do business casual? So I dressed the same as everyone else, a pair of khakis, some type of a collared polo shirt. But what was interesting is a doctor of mine came in and I greeted him at the door just like everybody else did. I was a young partner at the firm, or close to, maybe I was a manager, but I was showing him around. And at the end, one of my partners said, oh, you're my neighbor. I didn't know you knew Sandy. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then he made the comment, he said, so she's the secretary here? And he assumed I was the secretary, even though he would never have assumed a guy that was dressed the way I was the secretary. And I'll
Right.
never forget that, because after that, I always dressed up a notch from the men. Always. It was, and in fact, sometimes they'd give me a hard time, like, oh gee, Lane's going to the Grammys over there. But if it was dress up, I'd always take it a little bit higher. Or I was the queen of wearing dresses even when it was business casual. Would I make them fun, add a pair of heels? But after that comment was made, I always I always erred on the side of dressing up than down, because I was seen as a secretary.
Yeah. Interesting. I think that was an 80s concept. Like, I had that happen to me a few times of like when I was telling our realtor. We were looking for our first house, and she was asking us what we did for work. And I told her what I was doing, and she was like, wow, you got lucky with that job. And I remember thinking, what?
Really?
What? And I told Tom, I said, I think we're changing realtors because I'm like, who says that? She didn't say that to you.
Right.
So anyway, it was very interesting. But anyway, but to clothing, I have a interesting concept, or it was a mind shift for me. I had done a TV interview
Mm-hmm.
like in January or something like that. And, for this TV interview, I wore my favorite outfit. I was like, I'm going to look good. I'm going down there.
Very good.
Yeah, I
Knock it
shared
out.
it. I knocked it out. I shared it on social media everywhere. And then I was asked to do a speak in February out in California to a group. And it's a group that follows me on social media. So I was like, what am I going to wear? And so typically I would probably wear that same outfit because, it makes me feel good, makes me feel confident. But at the time, but I wasn't sure because I had put it out on social media. So I'm like, I should probably change my outfit, wear something different. So I'm not wearing the exact same thing because it was kind of it was kind of flashy outfit, or, a very distinct. So anyway, during that period, I'm teaching a class on minimalism,
Okay.
and we're talking about clothing. And I share this dilemma with the class of I'm getting ready to go for this speaking event, and I'm trying to decide if I need to buy a new outfit or if I wear the same thing that I put all over social media to this outfit. And the class was pushing back on me, like, what are you trying to do here? And it was actually such a good conversation
Really
that I was like,
love it. So they were challenging you in a good way.
I know they were challenging me, and they're like, Amy, it's okay. Wear the outfit, because as a minimalist, which I am a little bit of a minimalist, I am not an extreme minimalist, but I do try to just keep what I'm using as much as possible. So don't look at my bookshelf behind me, but um, I should be wearing the same things over and over, but I don't. So anyway, I wore it to my presentation in LA, and, took pictures, posted pictures. Nobody said anything. I
Right.
don't know if anybody noticed. And um, so I was like, all right, so I think it's okay. And I think about future events, and it happens to me all the time when I do this yearly conference, and sometimes, I have to be on stage, and sometimes I'm speaking, and I always am thinking about what I wore last year and if I need to get new outfits because I don't want the same people to see me in the same clothes every year. But I'm like, who remembers? I don't remember what everybody wore last year.
And back to, would you remember that with a man? Hell no.
No, absolutely not.
And a
Right.
lot, well, back to the Steve Jobs, I go back to looking at speakers or people that do keynotes. The guy can come out in a pair of jeans with a belt and a polo, and nobody would think twice, but the girl better come out in stilettos or a really cool dress. And, even though that group, that minimalist group, was very encouraging, that's very heartwarming to me because a lot of times I feel like women tend to be judgy of other women.
Yes. Yeah.
That there's this certain persona that hits the stage, and frankly, stilettos, I don't want to fall on the stage.
Right.
And back with time, I wore all those heels, and I can wear more of the kitty heels now, but now I've got a bunion to pay for it that likes to poke its way out, and
Yeah.
my feet are used to, COVID hasn't helped here much either, but there is a crossroads between vanity and comfort too. So here's a funny, Amy. Durango, I didn't know this, but they have a big festival called Snowdown, and they love to dress up in costumes here in Durango, Colorado. Every day they told me, you just watch every fundraiser, everything, they have a dress up. But purportedly, there was one year that Durango was ranked voted the worst dressed city in America, and they actually love it. So they hold on to it and they talk about it at every snowdown. We got to show them that they're
I
worth
love
it.
it.
But my vanity, it kind of drives me crazy because I mean, it is Lululemon. It is, and you know, I go to Rotary meetings, I go to meetings, and I'm putting on, again, it's not a fancy dress, but back to that whole mentality of going a
Mhm.
notch up. I've had
More
to really challenge
professional.
myself and say, is this my vanity? Is this because I have a closet? I'm practical that I have a closet full of clothes, and I'm like, I don't. I'm having a hard time, and I won't do it at this point. I just won't allow myself to go down a notch. I don't want to just live in jeans and is that a me thing? You know, or do you go to Rome and do what the Romans do? You know, do I start dressing like a cowgirl, or do I keep wearing my dresses, maybe get rid of the heels, right? But yeah, I can't get past that.
I think it's okay. I think being accepting of yourself and what makes you feel good is okay, but also giving that grace to everybody else. And
Right.
so,
Yeah, 'cause I'm not judging them. I think it's great. Good for them. Good for
exactly,
everybody.
exactly. So if we can just give everybody the grace to be
Love
themselves and
that.
let them be who they feel confident being, leggings, jeans, whatever it is, or suits and dresses, I think um, I think that's where it needs to come from, because then with that grace comes self acceptance for everybody. Like, I will feel accepted if people look at me and say, you know, you go for it, you do you, and vice versa.
Okay, Amy, I got to make sure we don't, I have to hear,
I know.
because we haven't
What?
talked. Nope. I want to hear about Fashion Week. I want to
Oh, yeah.
hear, you've got to tell, because
So,
I'm going to give everybody a visual. The last social media thing I liked for Amy, she had this beautiful blue dress on, standing in front of this picture taking Omaha Fashion Week sign. And I saw
I,
some awesome videos of her son on the catwalk. And, you know, come on.
right.
She's so vain, we're so vain. Tell us about it.
I'm telling you, this topic has resonated with me because Fashion Week was happening. And that is about, I mean, people dress up to go there and walk the
Right.
red carpet. And Trevor was walking the runway as
Exactly. Why do they call it
a,
the catwalk? Is it the catwalk?
it could be a catwalk too. I
Okay.
don't know what
I
it
don't
is,
know
but
either.
he
I've
was,
never been there. Wrong word, I'm sure.
I don't know, whatever it is, but he was working with a designer from Chicago, and he had to go down and get fitted. And,
Wow.
you know, he's signed as a model,
Hmm.
which for
So
a
cool.
17-year-old boy, but a 17-year-old boy who's very low on the self care,
Hmm.
like, you know, has had lots of a dirty upper lip and all that stuff.
Amy, I totally get it. I'm with you.
He's like, I have to look at him like, okay, it's time to shave. You're now growing facial hair. Come on, you know, once every 6 months, it's getting a little grubby there. So his, like, today I was over at the printer and he's got a male model grooming here that he printed off because he had a whole training session this week on grooming and
Wow.
how to take care of yourself. And so for me to watch him do this, it's been a little like, okay, I want to make sure you're okay
Hmm.
and that you still are um, feeling confident in who you are, and they're not telling you you need to look different. You know what I mean? Like, there's this mother nurturing, but
Right.
the other piece of that was, Trevor, you need to whiten your teeth.
Right.
Trevor, you need to like, um, we need to go get your hair taken care of. You know, it was this whole, so it was a huge struggle for me finding that balance between encouraging him and making sure he's mentally in a good spot and that he's
Right.
not losing his confidence, because he's a very confident young man. So anyway, he's fine, he's doing well, he's loving
Good
it.
for him.
I know. And it was fun to watch, but this vanity thing, you know, I think it's such a balance, and especially in that world where they're supposed to look good and they're supposed to take care of themselves and they're supposed to be like this. One of the things that was said is you're supposed to be a blank slate so that people don't see you, they see the clothing. So, you have to be pretty, like no tattoos, no piercings, and your hair should be homogenous like everybody else's hair that's on the runway. It's like taking the which I actually kind of appreciate that instead of them saying you're the show person.
Right.
It's more about um what the designer wants to show, which is actually the clothing. So anyway, it was
That's,
fun. I will tell you, it was fun to dress up. Haven't dressed up since February.
mhm.
I wore heels, which I haven't really worn heels since.
Did the feet feel a little funny?
Um, it was actually okay. They were my most comfortable heels.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna say it was okay. I had broken my toe in December, so um, that along with COVID, I just haven't had heels on forever. But it was good. It was a fun evening, and did a little self pedicure, and I was like, it was fun. It was a good time. Um, but again, lots of vanity there, lots of people prancing around and looking good, and lots of self-confidence too. And but also a lot of acceptance, because there were people who I was like, oh, in my mind, I was like, they're pulling that off really well. I couldn't do that.
Back to choosing one thing of this whole conversation, what it comes back to for me, and thank you, you've been it's like my back in my days with running, it's like it's podcast therapy. um, Here's the conclusion I've come to through all this conversation is there was I thought of the term yet another, we always like to come up with these catchy terms for the podcast. Don't be a judgy Judy. My niece always says judgy Judy, people who judge others. You know what? Whatever your best you is, whether it's straight teeth or hair or fun walking, do what rocks you and be
Right.
confident doing that, but don't judge others. Let them be them. It's just what you said a little bit ago. So whether you call it vanity, self-care, who was born with good genes, who works harder, it doesn't really do what is good for you. And quite frankly, back to my happiness factor, it was the chicken and the egg. I didn't have to go to straight teeth and lose weight and was happy. They all kind of worked together because I was working toward the my authentic me,
Yeah,
right?
your best you that
Right.
you want it. Yes, yes.
And so, but it's not for me to judge how people dress in Durango, or gosh, if I was the mom, I would never go to fashion week. I mean, we've all heard these phrases.
Right.
Don't judge others, be your best you, and encourage the people around you to whatever that is. And I love clothes. At the end of the day, I'll always love
Yeah.
clothes. It's a guilty indulgence that will never go away.
Right.
Other people don't like them as much. It's an individual thing.
When you talk about happiness and what brings you happiness, that reminds me, about 5 years ago, I was probably about 15 years or 15 pounds thinner. And I look back at those pictures and I'm like, oh, yeah, I like them. I looked much better, but I don't remember being happier. Like, it did not bring me happiness. It did not bring me, like, a lot of people are like, I will be happy if I do this. I will say it brought me more self-confidence, and more like I felt better about how I looked in clothes and stuff like that, but it didn't bring me happiness. That's not what made me
Because the
happy.
reality with me was it made me so happy. I love to be on the stage. I love to be, not to say, to get a message across that I feel strongly about. I and that, knowing that I wanted to do that, but for me and myself, it pushed me to do something else. So it was that hand in hand thing. And then as I had the aha moments, as I was developing the content and talking to people, it was fun to talk happy with people, and thinking that if I gave them nuggets to help them, that makes
Right.
me happy. But it just, yeah, back to, there are other times where I could say, yeah, I was really thin when I went through my divorce. I sure as heck wasn't very happy, but I
Right.
probably looked the best in clothes. And that's a little dramatic, but that isn't it. It's not the
Right.
what.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. Nice.
How
All
we doing
right.
for time, Amy? Here, blah,
I
blah,
think we're
blah,
doing
blah.
good. We're at 40 minutes, which is very good. Okay, so our question today, we only have one. Do you think judgment on women's looks eases up or gets worse as they age? You know what? I don't, so I could go both ways on this. What do you think? I think it eases up a little bit with age. Like with age, I think we get a little bit of a pass on, you know, having to look our best. And I don't know. What do you think?
My personal, I think it gets worse as you age. And I think people are, it's easier. There's more things that go downhill, whether it be gravity. It's, there are more noticeable things that happen as you get older. And I think you start becoming invisible. Doesn't that sound terrible? You know how people get when they really age and people start talking around them. I can almost sense that happening as I get older. Maybe I don't have as many interesting things to talk about.
That's
Um,
not true.
I do think I got more of a buy when I was young and uh, youth. I think there is something about youth, and I think you know what? I guess I could say both ways because the other side is I feel like people don't hold any. I feel like people don't notice me as much anymore as I get older, but I don't feel like they care as much anymore. Does that sound terrible? Like, oh, does it really matter anymore? Like, just if I let myself go, would as many people care if I wasn't on stage, right? Or if I wasn't pushing something
Right.
professionally.
So I'm curious though, because I think about when you said you're not noticed as much, which I agree because when I was young and working professionally, I was very noticed. But I will say, and I think this is the same for you, I was one of the few young females.
I was always the first. I always, not only a female, but I always did things young. I hit milestones young. That's a great one.
Yes. So I think we were at that age a bit of an anomaly, like, oh, she's going for it. She's putting herself out there. She's young, she's professional, she's smart. And so because when you said that, I think the focus on me at both of my jobs was very high because I was working with a bunch of men and I was a young engineer. And so and female. And so they wanted, and plus, they wanted a little bit of diversity. And I was their, some of
Right.
occasionally their token diversity, but their eyes were all on me and advancing me. And I felt very noticed and I felt very lifted up. Whereas now it's not the same because I think for the better, women are more integrated. And so we're not
An
as,
anomaly.
I know, we're not as special as what we used to be.
And you know what, Amy? Here's the other thing. Not trying to give, maybe we're giving ourselves too much credit too. We were the anomaly, but it was to their benefit to highlight that because see, here's our woman partner. See,
Right,
look at it. She got this award. So I think I even got put on more of a pedestal because it probably made the organizations look better
right,
that you were doing the right thing, without
right,
I, but
right.
that feeling, like you
Mhm.
remember that feeling when it's like, oh my gosh, you did this and you're not even 30 years old yet, and you have 3 kids at home, and I had this great story to tell, and now it's a little bit, I just, are you retired? Oh, cool. It just
But I think when you're used to that, as you age, um, we're a little bit more average now. We're more
right,
mainstream, and it's not we don't get that attention, which is okay. That just means that our what we're saying needs to be resonating with people if that's you
right,
know what we're
right.
shooting for. So I think it's good. I don't know. Okay, are you ready for our wrap question? I'm just going to say this was a good discussion. Thank you. One of the other things I do want to bring up though was I have gray hair and this was a huge vanity issue for me because I started turning gray when I was 35 and colored for, many years. And then, and I remember having the conversation because I was coloring every 6 weeks, and it's expensive to get your hair colored every 6 weeks.
Right,
And
right.
I remember having the conversation with someone about it was with a group of people about stopping coloring my hair, and somebody said, you know what, my grandmother stopped coloring her hair when she was like 90 years old, and she was instantly old and died soon after.
Oh my gosh, somebody said
I
that.
know. And so I was like, all right, do I stop coloring my hair in my 40s, or do I wait till I'm in my 90s and keep going?
Right.
Well, and what happened to me was I started getting irritated by the color. And so I was like, I just have to stop. And because it was, I was having a reaction to it. And so I stopped, and
It looks
my
great,
hair.
Amy, and now you're trendy because people are coloring their hair gray and platinum.
Well, and that's one of the things that helped me go gray, because I was like, oh, we have 20-year-olds who are coloring their hair gray. I think I can try this. And thankfully, my hairdresser was so sweet. She's like, Amy, I'm only 5 minutes away. She's like, call me if you change your mind and we can color it again. And so I was like, all right, that gives me permission to try it and not be locked to it. So anyway, it's much easier now. But I will say that was a huge how old am I going to look when I go gray versus coloring it and having natural hair color. All right, let's get to our wrap question, unless you want to talk about gray hair anymore.
No, not that I don't. Not that I don't. After I had us go over the one time, I'm trying to stay on track here.
I know, isn't that the truth? We're doing well.
Overextended happy hour.
Big accomplishment last week. Do you have anything that you any big thing you got done?
For me, September 1st is similar to January 1st to other people. I've always looked at the back to school, the fall, my birthday month is September.
Oh, yay,
and
happy birthday.
Thank you. My birthday month is September, and I love fall. I love fall decor. And so this was the week. My big accomplishment was really getting all my fall decor out, cleaning up the house. My stepson went back to school and moved back to New York City, and we had the changing of the guards, and I feel like we just turned a page. So my accomplishment was getting my fall decor out. How about that? And I'm quite happy with
For
it.
you. You're a step ahead of me. I haven't done that, but it's going to be like 90 degrees today, so I'm not quite there.
Not quite there. Yeah, I've been wearing a sweatshirt, so
Yeah.
that gives you the feels.
Yeah. So my big accomplishment is actually an accomplishment for our podcast. I got some resources, and we were able to get onto Spotify this last week, which I'm super excited for us, because we've kind of been doing YouTube and social media for distribution, but now we're on Spotify. We're going to be looking for getting onto iTunes soon. So I just have to, do whatever I need to do to get that done. And so I'm really excited about the future of this. And I had a friend text me this morning and say, she listened on Spotify this morning. So I'm like, yay, we're out there and people can find us. So that's exciting.
So exciting, Amy. Thank you. Ultra techie professional. I'm learning all about Spotify now. That'll be a new app for me. So
I know, it's good. Well, Sandy, thanks for this conversation. I think the summary of this is about self-acceptance, accepting others, and just being our best selves. And we don't need to call it vanity. We just need to call it a celebration of who we are.
And one last note, I did put out a vote for what our next topic is going to be. And the resounding, I think we ended up with 80 answers, and 68% chose I don't work with assholes. So we'll just leave that little teaser right there.
I love this topic. All right, we could go so many directions with that. Work, play, hang out with.
Get the questions going, people, and let us know. So we want a good discussion.
Yes, very good. Well,
All
thank
right,
you,
Amy,
Sandy.
enjoy your great day and happy
You
fall until
too.
next
You
week.
too. Till next week.